brought to you by New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity. Hi, this is the most amazing collection I have read so far. I'm a reading-aholic. Dustin Pickering, you know me from Parrot Literary Corner. This is the Literary Parrot, available at Amazon.com and its various affiliates. If you have not seen this collection, it's 249 pages of glorious global literature in a contemporary vein. This covers a lot of subjects from the coronavirus to violence on the streets, to love, to romance. Everything you can imagine is in this collection, and you should buy it now. I'll tell you why. It's a collection of unique voices from the Literary Parrot. People have been on our show, have participated in this, or have been published on our website, newyorkparrot.com. So please, I implore you, buy a copy. Thank you, and please return to the show.
Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Good morning, folks. I'm Dustin Pickering, and this is the Parrot Literary Corner. Thank you for joining us today. We are broadcasting live, so if you'd like to leave comments, questions for our guest, then you're welcome to do so. So today we have Amita Sanghavi, who teaches at SQU in Oman. She completed her MA in English Literature and Bachelor's of Education at University of Mumbai and a Master's of Philosophy at SNDT University. She's recipient of British Council Hornby Award and Dr. Kalako Award, and she has an MA from TESOL from Lancaster University, UK. She's pronounced Ambassador of Poetry by World Poetry Canada and representative of Images and Poetry Art Movement, Italy. She won Savona International Prize in 2020, Italy. Her poetry book, Lavender Memories, and edited anthologies, World Poetry Peace-a-thon, and Impressions and Expressions, were published in 2018, 2020, and 2021. Thanks for joining us today, Amita. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning from Oman. It's good evening to you, Dustin.
Excellent. So how is Oman today? Is the weather pretty nice?
Yeah, in fact, the last week has been cooling, and we are very happy because we can do more outdoors.
I'm curious, what are the poetry circles like in Oman, and do universities encourage poetry critique groups?
Poetry in Arabic is very, very rampant. Everybody speaks poetically, in fact. It's a lot of Arabic poetry, and they have regular events. One of the best places where you would find these events is the Zubair Museum. It's the center of culture here, and they have series of poetry from Arabic world.
Interesting. And so you've received a lot of honors and a lot of recognition. Do they encourage you to write more, and do they satisfy you as a writer?
Oh, definitely.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of these recognitions?
It so happened that this book, Lavender Memories, it came out in 2018, but there's a very interesting story how it all started. We have an artist here, Professor Ibrahim Al-Noor, who has more than 200 paintings in his book, which has been published. And all these paintings are about the nature around him and the landscape of Oman, the topography. I once went out for coffee with one of my colleagues, and she had the book. And when I saw the book for the first time, I opened the book, poetry started flowing. Poem after poem, I started writing. And that's how the journey started. And later on, I realized it's called ekphrasis, when the stimulation is visual and you have poems. So some of the pictures are also included. His paintings. These
That's
are
very
huge
nice.
wall-size paintings.
Wow.
And they are amazing. And he has also done some very, very high level of photography where you have a panoramic view right at the highest mountain, the peak. He would set up 5 cameras and he would then click a series of pictures and set them together. He is having his own gallery here, and he also has captured zebra in running.
Oh,
And
wow.
to catch movement
Wow.
in a painting is very difficult.
Yes, it is.
So the university had a grand exhibition at the cultural center where his paintings were put up. There's a YouTube video on that. It covers the entire exhibition. And my poems were put next to his paintings as a art and poetry exhibition. After that, I collected all the poems, and this book was published, Lavender Memories and Other Poems, because there's something very beautiful about the way light is reflected on these mountains, Dustin. At early in the morning, if you go around 4:30, 4:40, when slowly the light comes up, there is 1 or 2 minutes when some of the mountains look lavender. And it's like sort of a reflection, because I think they have a lot of chemicals and minerals in the mountain ranges here. And that's how I call this Lavender Memories.
Do the
So
poems
this was my
themselves are the
first
poems
book.
themselves about the are the poems themselves about the mountains and the landscape, or are they of a different subjects, and that's just the central title you decided to set with?
This particular book is all about nature poetry and nature,
Okay.
particularly in Oman,
Mhm.
because Oman is very mountainous. It has 1,000 mountains. It's called the land of 1,000 mountains, Al Hajar Mountains.
Oh.
And it's amazing. And for me, Dustin, they have always been the source of strength. I see mountains as, the symbol of strength. So I love the landscape here. It's beautiful. And the most amazing thing about them is as the sun shifts, the colors of the mountains change.
Wow. That must be a very inspiring locale. I mean, that's beauty, it sounds like, is immense.
It's an amazingly beautiful place. Yes, it is. And it has the oceans. We have at least 1,000 kilometers of ocean.
Oh, wow. So there's a lot of mountains and ocean. That sounds like a place I would enjoy, because I do like the water.
It's an ideal
rock.
place. Yeah, it is.
And it's cool too, as you say. It's a cool place. It's very mild weather right now, at least.
Right now, yes.
Yeah. So these poems, how long did it take you to write this collection?
Sometime in 2017, say around April, I saw his book of paintings. And then early morning, suddenly, I would get 5-6 poems together. I would quickly search for a piece of paper and write it down. And I realized I kept losing paper. So then I put myself in the habit, whenever there was a poem in my mind, I would email it to him so that, the poem was in the email box. And over 6 months, I got around thinking that this is enough to come up with a book.
I think that's good. The emails, I also preserve a lot of my writing through email. Sometimes I'll write something and email it to somebody, and then my flash drive will go out or something or break, and then I'll have to go through all my emails and pull them all back up. So it's a
Yeah.
good way to preserve. Also, what they call the cloud is a good way to preserve a lot of writing. When
But
furniture,
email were before the cloud came, and you could access it all over the world. Even while you were traveling, you could open the email and check stuff. So I
right?
think it's the safest way. And the other person also has a copy, so that way you have more backup.
That's true. So, what do you do as an ambassador for world poetry? What are your roles in that organization?
Uh, so basically, the first project I came up with was the World Peaceathon Poetry. This
Hmm.
is a huge book. It was published in 2020 during the pandemic. It has 92 contributors and
Wow.
8 languages from 28 nations.
Hmm.
My co-editors are Arya. This is my proofread copy, so you can't see the names.
Right.
Ariadne Sawyer and Richard Doiron and Catherine Gordon from Canada. So
Hmm.
this was the first project where Ariadne sent the poets from all over the world, and I had poets from Oman. So
Hmm.
I collected 27 pieces, not just poetry. I also asked people to just define peace, what peace means to them.
Hmm.
So some of them have written about what peace is, held as in their heart. What do they think peace is? And it was a wonderful response, but the downside was the pandemic happened, and Amazon stopped printing everything. So
Hmm.
it was quite a wait. It has just come out. Now, the paper copy has come out. What we could do right away was the e-Kindle. The Kindle copy was there right away. And now I'm very happy finally to have the book in my hand, and it has some beautiful paintings and pictures. About art, poetry, and thoughts. And also, Ariadne has a beautiful poem in this book. And she's my role model, Dustin, because I happened to one night I happened to think after the book was launched, I happened to think, now where else can I send my poetry?
Hmm.
And as we all Googled stuff, I just Googled,
Hmm.
submission, poetry submission. I sent quite a few of them, but the first response came from Ariadne.
Hmm.
And I spoke on Vancouver radio show, World Cafe Poetry. I was interviewed there not once, not twice. I've done 3 interviews. And then I came up with this project, and this is her second Peaceathon book. She has done one before in 2012. And then again in 2020, I thought that it's time to do one more Ariadne. Shall we do it? And here it is.
Do you believe that poetry has the ability to raise empathy in people and a spirit of peace?
I think, yes, I not only think, I believe
Hmm.
that at a personal level, your feelings are shared through a poem.
Hmm.
And what you write and what you read, if they resonate, if I'm reading something on loneliness, it resonates with loneliness within,
Hmm.
then there's a connection.
Hmm.
You feel that here is another person who went through my same suffering or my same predicament or what I went through. And I think that's where poetry connects people. the range of emotions, the intensity of emotions, the experiences, the thought processes, our musings, our reflections are varied at varied point of time. And it's not always necessary, Dustin, that the people around us feel the same or understand us.
Mm-hmm.
But out there, there will be a poem, a soul who has felt the same, has gone through the same, and has been able to express it beautifully for you. So, what happens is you connect and somehow you feel calm after
Mm-hmm.
reading. You feel that I'm not alone. Here is someone who said exactly what I wanted to say. In fact, our epiphany, is the
Mm-hmm.
moment when we feel, oh, wow,
Right.
exactly this. And that makes reading poetry exciting. Of course, and then there's so much of intellectual poetry out there. There are poems for a cause, there are poems for motivation, there are poems where, there's a lot of grit, like lot of grit, and very powerful poems. You feel, wow, this one is going to be what I read every morning. So I think
Mm-hmm.
what happened in the pandemic was we had lost connections with our usual friends, and we were isolated, and we had lot of time which we otherwise would not find. In the past 2 years, I think, because of WhatsApp and all the social media, a lot of poetry has been recited, written, shared. I think poetry has come back
Mm-hmm.
because how much can you watch just entertainment? You may not be in the same place emotionally. But what
Right.
happens with poetry is I have thousands of poems. I just have to put in a topic. I'm feeling this, or I want to read about this, and you'll always find a poem on that. There's
Absolutely.
always somebody else who is also feeling the same or thinking the same.
Hmm. So, as an editor, what kind of poetry do you prefer? I mean, is there a certain quality of poetry that you like, or a certain kind of poetics that you look for?
Right. So after these two books, the third book I came out with just in July of this year,
Mm-hmm.
Impressions and Expressions. It's an
Okay.
anthology of contemporary poetry. What happened was I was reading poetry that was, around. I was reading from friends, from poets I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And then one fine day, I thought that if I want to reread something, I have to keep going back. I have to go to their Facebook, I have to look for that notification, and I have to reread that poem. And then
Mm-hmm.
what if I want to read two poets together? What if I want to compare them? That's when it struck to me that I am comfortable with a book in my hand, with my favorite poems, everything together. And I decided that I need to bring them together in a book form, in an anthology. And I wanted to make sure that I did not have very complex poetry written in the ivory tower.
Mm-hmm.
That does not speak to the people with daily experiences and daily life.
Mm-hmm.
Poetry that was simple, yet it was not just rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
can write a poetic message, I can write a rhyme, but poetry that went far deeper than just rhyming words had beautiful metaphors and messages. And I made sure that I did not edit anything at all. You know why? Because I thought in I mean in wanting to change the line or the word. In fact, even for changing one word, or the position of the line in the page, I would contact the poet and ask them, why have you done it like this? And they would say, please don't change it, I want the pattern as it is. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that if I want the voices to reach the masses as they are, as varied and as special as the owner of the thought and the verse, then all I have to do is put them together and let the reader decide. So that's Impressions and Expressions. It's about 225 pages and it's 24 poets. And we have the Omani artist Tahira Al-Lawati with beautiful paintings. She's one of the most famous artists. And I have included her paintings, and I have used this painting here as the book cover.
Excellent.
Because the series of her paintings is Language in the Caves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the scribbling and writing that you have in ancient caves.
Like the petroglyphs.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how long did it take you to discover these poets over time? I mean, was it like a long-term project, or did you just have them there?
I think I was reading for like 6 or 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
When I liked a poet, when I liked one poem, I started reading everything else they were writing. And at one point of time, I thought, here and now, because I believe in living in the present moment. Who's the person writing right now? Mm-hmm. There are so many collections and so much of the past. I want something that, you see the person is right there with all their struggles, their daily lives. They are also going to work. It's not somewhere out there, in the 16th century that you have to imagine about. Of course, that poetry is there for anyone who wants to read. But what I want to do is the people here and now should find a place. And that's how I went about it.
So you like a contemporary voice that's pretty, cut and dry. It's not very abstract, not overly erudite. It's something that's a little more concrete and direct in its form, and it's not so complicated for the reader to really grasp.
I think that if I'm saying poetry ought to connect people, then it has to be something that can be read without the use of a dictionary, without the, teacher having to explain, or without a lot of background reading you have to do to understand the reference in a line. There can be very complex poetry. I appreciate that people want to express. They are free to express the way they want to express. If there are references, contexts and intertextual references, and it's a very heavy poem, I think it's for a smaller readership.
Absolutely.
But when you want to have it across the globe, when your intent is global peace, where you want to show that all humanity have the same sorrows and the same joys. It's only, it's only the timing that's different. For you, it might happen, now. For me, it might happen later. But these two things happen, joy and sorrow. We cannot escape the wheel. So I felt that if my intention of being ambassador or being a representative is to connect people globally, then it's not right to say that I only look at very sophisticated, erudite poetry, which is beautiful, which I might enjoy. But if I'm to put out in the world, I want it to be of real people who have a lot of things to do through the day, who are worried about their electricity bills.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they want to have some kind of solace and some kind of sharing, connecting. That's where poetry comes to them. And I felt that the response was good. I mean, I did not keep it as an open, it wasn't an open invitation. the 24 I chose were the ones I wrote to. I said, please contribute. And then I also, Dustin, I don't have a single poem. I feel, and now this is because I'm literature background and I've done my thesis in Debu, Poetry and Dance. Get your copy today.
Hi, welcome back to Parrot Literary Corner. We have Amita Sanghavi here, and we just watched a good commercial for her upcoming book or her latest book. So tell us a little bit about your inspiration there for this collection that we just plugged for you. Tell us a little bit about your muse and what it means, what he means to you, and so forth.
Yeah. So this is the latest book. I've released it on the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And India's dance is always known to the world, the classical dances, and dance is a very huge art form in India.
Mm-hmm.
Asta Debu, my muse, was totally trained in Indian classical dances, Kathak and Kathakali. And then he went on to get trained in the States and in Germany. There's a video about his entire, introduction on the YouTube, which says about his journey. And he has performed in 70 plus countries. Now, what's fascinating about his dance is it's contemporary, postmodern. It is portraying things like, the times we live in, where there's a lot of disparity and sorrow. There's something very seriously portrayed in his dances. They're aesthetically, visually beautiful, and they have a message. Unfortunately, this will be a permanent heartache for me that he expired in December 2020. He knew the book is coming out. He has read the foreword himself, and he has read all the poetry, but he is no more.
I'm very sad to hear that. Thanks to our people commenting right now on the YouTube. So thank you very much. Subscribe to our channel if you can. If you get a chance, just hit that subscribe button. So why did you choose to write poetry for him? Is it the dance inspired you so much, or
The impact of the dance was such that I didn't plan to write. The poetry just came. I could see the poem. And all I had to do was put it down on paper before I forgot. And some of them, Dustin, I have also written simultaneously while taking a lecture.
Oh, wow.
Because I should not forget them. So if it's a reading class and the students are given a reading text, I would quickly type it out so that I wouldn't forget it.
You never know when poetry strikes you. It just kind of sometimes hits out of the blue. You could be in the middle of cooking or walking or something, and it's like, hey, I need this poem out right now. Put it on paper.
Before it escapes. Yeah.
Right.
Precisely. Yeah.
So, about how many poems are in this collection?
This collection has 50 plus poems.
Excellent. And is there any illustrations, as in some of the previous anthologies you mentioned?
Yeah, we have his photos. There are some beautiful pencil sketches that one of the famous artists from Mumbai, Javed Mulani, did while Astad was dancing.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't know if, these are live. They have been sketched in seconds. Before he moved around, they have got the pose. So
sort
they
of like
have
Javed Mulani's.
They have Javed Mulani's original sketches. The book has them, as well as some photos of Astad. Now, this is one of the sketches of Javed.
Wow, very nice. Quite a tribute there you've got.
Sorry?
Quite a tribute you have there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So these are some of the sketches made live, and then there are some pictures of Astad performing too.
Would you like to read a couple of the poems from the book?
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. I look forward to it. Thank you, Parrot.
When Astad's grace-gifted hand mid-air lifts, rivers gently flow, cool breezes blow, and my heart mid-breath shifts from sad to serene.
Wow, that has a very very simple, very direct, and emotive. It conveys a lot of emotion, especially your performance of it. Your reading was very emotive, and you can just feel the wonder and the awe going on within you, and as you read that. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Would you like to read another one?
There is a very beautiful dance he has performed, and the title of the dance, the theme is Stepping Out. That was the first dance I saw of his, and it's just amazing. It's just, he steps out from the door, from behind the door, comes onto the main stage, And it's also like, he steps out of the dark and then there's light.
Mm-hmm.
This had a deep impact on my mind. And this is poem 24 in the book, Stepping Out. On stepping out of yesters and morrows, stepping out of clouds and clutters, stepping out of noisy silences and silent noises, stepping out of regret and guilt, stepping out of doubt and fear, entering hope, firm in faith.
Excellent. Wow. Very conceptual. Farouz Shah would like to know, what's your new book on?
It is on dance, but the dance conveys some thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the rarest and the most intellectual exercise that you can dance your thought out to the audience. Music does that as well. The feelings are evoked. But imagine in a dance, you bring the fear of stepping out in your movement. And it's just that, how do you balance the music, the rhythm, the expressions, and the steps? Everything has to be right.
Wow. That's
So
interesting.
to answer the question again, these are poetry I saw in the dance, poetry I found in the dance.
Do you find that your poetry resembles the emotions that are conveyed in the dance?
Oh, yes. I think that stepping out, if you watch on YouTube, the expressions are about fear, hesitation, doubt. And then this poem just came, We have to step out of guilt. We have to step out of a cluttered, clouded mind. We have to step out of fear. So for me, the whole thing was stepping out of darkness to light.
Wow. Fascinating.
And it was an amazing performance. I can see it again and again and again. And I think that's a remarkable thing about classic work. You can go back to it. That's also what I have emphasized about this book. You will want to read the poetry again. You will want the book next to you. So, I think that's when I felt that these works are something that stay with you. And they always say books are a companions, because these are people, their thoughts, their work, their art.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you, Nin Shah. Brilliantly articulated is his comment. Thank you so much for your comment. And please subscribe to our channel if you don't mind. Thank you so much for being with us. So what role do you think a poet or writer has in society at large?
I think that I read somewhere, and I'm sure you would agree that we read this a lot, that one of the silent killers today is loneliness. So I think that make books your best friends. You're never lonely if you're with a book. And if the book is written by somebody who is out here, whom you can follow, it's such a wonderful thing. You can follow their Twitter, you can see their Facebook, you can say what are they thinking about today. And that can be very inspirational and motivational. And you always have, someone you connect with in your mind. And I think that matters. With the rise of number of suicides in society, people feeling discouraged, people feel like giving up. I think that entertainment alone cannot keep people motivated and remind them that this is a phase, this too shall pass. And
Right.
poetry is something that keeps flowing. So every day you have something new, and the perception of a person, a reader, shifts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very, very important if you have the live and let live policy, vision, mission to convey to the world. You ought to be able to tell and to listen your own story and listen to another story without any judgment. Only see what's the common core within
A
and
comment
connect
from
with it.
that beer Chadha. Beautiful thoughts, simple poetry that's universal in content. Thank you, Sabir. Please subscribe to our channel if you don't mind. So, what final words would you impart to the viewers today in conclusion with the interview?
I really want everyone to find 10 or 15 minutes in a day as me time and read or listen to poetry. Don't ever think that you are the only one who is going through a difficult phase. Don't ever think of giving up life. Life is very precious. Each day, each dawn brings something new. And I feel that wasting time on things that don't matter will not help, but you have to just make sure that you read the right thing and you're in the right company of great minds and
Mhm.
grow in life, evolve.
Excellent. That's very thoughtful words, and I hope people will take that into consideration. Do you have any thank yous or shout outs you'd like to give to the as well while you're on broadcast?
Yes, my big thank you to my parents, especially to my mother. I've launched the book on her birthday, 20th September.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to thank Astad wherever he is watching me from. And a huge thank you to both of you. The production of such a TV channel and this platform are really wonderful. I want to thank the audience. And last but not the least, I want to thank my daughter who has always been a strong support. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Amita, for joining us today. I hope our viewers have enjoyed this program. This is the New York Parrots Literary Corner. We have a show coming up, Foreign Policy, the American Foreign Policy to be exact. If you want to stay tuned for that, it's coming up at 11. So thank you again for viewing. If you haven't subscribed, just hit that subscribe button. Blink, blink, blink. It'll remind you of when we come on live or when we're doing a show, and you can view it as it happens. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to be in touch with us. You can support this program by paypal.me/nyparrot. That's donations. For donations, you can send to that PayPal address, and we'd be very happy to thank you very much to receive your donations. And remember that The Literary Corner, brought to you by New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity. The Literary Corner, brought to you by New York Parrot TV, the voice